Hey guys, I'm back, and my voice is my voice is starting to get sore. Um, I'm doing all these in a row. I'm not sure what the release is going to be like. Doesn't matter. Anyway, so we talked about EA, Bethesda, and Microsoft last time. We got those out of the way. Microsoft, at this point, I think had the strongest press conference, and then Ubisoft came and they did a lot better. Um, I think that's from mostly an opinion standpoint though, because they did have a lot more games that I'm interested in. Ubisoft was packed with stuff that I really liked. Um, I found it interesting that they started with Just Dance, but I think they did that just to get it out of the way because Ubisoft had a very interesting intro. They talked about Just Dance for a little bit. It's like, oh, new stuff for Just Dance. So get that the fuck out of the way. We got to talk about actual games. I think that's what they did. Anyway, so I'm going to talk about the least interesting stuff. Um, there's Eagle Flight, the multiplayer VR game that Ubisoft had been working on. They did have some multiplayer features, which I didn't even know had a multiplayer aspect to it. Um, I'm not really interested. I am interested in VR, but not enough to buy it. So that's kind of thing. It was like, oh, it'd be cool to have it, but it's a little expensive. Don't really want to invest in it, but whatever. And then the Assassin's Creed movie. They talked about it for a little bit more than I guess they should have, because the movie that's kind of for like film. Well, I guess it is for game, but I don't think the movie has an E3 should have an E3 presence. But oh well, doesn't matter. Um, then there's a Star Trek Bridge Crew, which is also going to be a VR game, um, where you are on the Star Trek. I forgot the name of the ship. Doesn't matter. It's not the Enterprise, I don't think. I think it is the Enterprise. Um, but anyway, they had a gameplay demo with that with some of the old Star Trek people. So I found that pretty cool. Um, but that was pretty much all to it. Is pretty much a VR Star Trek crew. That's pretty much all. Um, let's see. Then there's more Division updates. They kind of talked about more the secondary DLC. But that's kind of they kind of expanded upon what they did in Microsoft's press conference. That was pretty much it to it. I think everything else I liked. Let's talk about Watch Dogs 2 for a little bit. The last video that I did, or the last actual video I did that wasn't an E3 discussion, or an E3 recap, because this isn't really a discussion. This is more me talking. Because this is actually, I think this is actually going to be a subject for a video, but I just don't like talking about games with other people anymore. People are mean. I don't like people anymore. They're mean. Anyway, so Watch Dogs 2, I talked about it in the last actual video, where I said Rebellion stories are boring, and the trailer didn't really do much to alleviate that fear, because it did actually have character dialogue and character interaction, which, for the most, it looks all right. It looks like there is chemistry there, but again, it's the story's not interesting. Uh, Especially when the main character's like, I'm gonna get ready to free these people from the control of a media tyrant, and then he sends a Lamborghini down the road to crash into a tree. That's not hero work, and he did it for no reason. I'm just gonna steal every car. Fucking, I'm freeing the people. Do what you gonna do about it? Fucking Paul Revere is like, oh dude, I gotta steal this horse. Clop clop clop. Um, he didn't steal a horse. I don't know what the fuck that was. Anyway, we got to see more stuff of Watch Dogs 2. More mechanics to use, stuff like that. The guards look pretty stupid. Cause like, oh, I gotta check my phone. Oh, what's that? A droid? Fuck it, whatever. Gotta see his tweet. But yeah, the city looks very pretty. But there's not much else. I saw new mechanics. They look kind of interesting, but they look more like upgraded versions of what Aiden had. Um, that's pretty much it. And the story just isn't interesting, so it's not really something I can get invested in. What was next? Everything else I was interested in. So Uh, Ghost Recon. Um, Watch Dogs 2 was actually near the end, so um, they talked about Just Dance for 30 seconds, and then they moved on to Ghost Recon, which I'm liking how it looks. It does look a little different from the original reveal, where the graphics don't look as good, but the gameplay does look fun, so that's the most important part. Um, the four player co op thing, I do like that. I like how if you screw up, the target can get away, but you still have the option of tracking him down and getting him. Because with other games, um, all the target has to do is get out of a certain area. Even if you're right on his butt, if he gets out of a certain area, then the mission counts as failure. Um, so I did like what they had to show with Wildlands. The environment, the graphics look nice. Um, yeah, it looked cool. I liked how Wildlands looked. Um, and then comes one of the most interesting things out of this E3. South Park. Um, for those of you who don't know, I did actually play the Stick of Truth, which I loved. I heard it was good, but then I played it and was like, this is actually a really good game with some potty humor. Um, admittedly, I laughed at a lot of it, so I can't really blame other people for that. Um, but anyway, they started talking about South Park fractured but whole. Um, you can't say that seriously. Anyway, so this one is going to work a little bit differently. There's some movement aspect to it. Um, kind of like one of those. I can't remember the name of the Mega Man thing. I think it was Battle Network, where it was RPG, but you moved on a grid. So there is more strategy to your movement. Um, so, uh, so fractured butthole. That's how it's gonna work. I'm just gonna say South Park so I can get through this. Um, so they had some mechanics. They had some new interesting stuff. They had uh, the classes are going to work differently. The humor of Stick of Truth looks completely intact, which I love. I just love all the meta humor that happens. I also like how they had a lot of jokes on stage, which really got you into how this game is going to be. It's not going to be like, oh, we're heroes, and I guess we're gonna save the day, but we're also a little quirky and maybe a little obscene. No, the trailer they showed was downright South Park. It was like a miniature South Park episode. It was really funny. I liked it. And it looks like the humor is intact. Uh, the story is interesting. Apparently, Cartman and I forget the other kid's name. Um, I'm pulling a blank. I've watched a lot of South Park, but I can't remember his name. Uh, so Cartman and the other character, the Jew. Let's call. Oh. Why did I say that? Now you guys know who I'm talking about. So I'm not saying that as a slur. I'm just saying he's the Jewish kid that Cartman makes fun of because he's Jewish. Anyway, he doesn't make fun of him because he's Jewish. He makes fun of his Jewish attributes. Anyway, um, Jesus, this is definitely one of the highlights of E3 for me. Um, the story is Cartman and the other kid. They're arguing about how to do their superhero films, like doing their phase 1 through their phase 3, and then they're like, "Oh, we're gonna have a civil war about it." It's a complete parody of Captain America: Civil War, which I love. Also, all the fucking comic stabs, like, oh, there was a lot of good stuff in that. Oh man. Anyway, that was a really good segment. It did go on for a while too, so I really, really like that. I'm super excited for South Park Fractured Butthole. All right, let's see what else we got. Let's get away from that. Grow Home sequel. I was surprised. It's called Grow Up. Grow Up, loser. Anyway, one of my biggest problems, actually, if you guys want to see a Let's Play on Grow Home, you could go over to my Let's Play channel, Dark Old Gamers. I have a whole playthrough. Anyway, So my only problem with Grow Home that I had was that it was a little small. It was only vertically an issue. Um, it was only a vertically game. There wasn't much horizontal to it. Um, but Grow Up, you get a whole planet. I like that. I like that a lot. That's gonna be fun. Also with the upgrades that it looks like Bud has, where he can, like, I guess break a fall, turn into a ball. He also has a built-in jet, which I like because that was something else. The collectible power-ups in that game were kind of intuitive, but also slightly annoying if you lost it. Which, if you crashed into something when using it, you lost the item, which is annoying. Unless you were falling from a great enough height, you could actually grab it midair and then use it again, which was cool. But anyway, New Grow Home. I'm really excited about that. That's awesome. Uh, and then Trials of the Blood Dragon, which I found interesting because it looked cool. It looked super cool. And then Ubisoft's like, "Oh yeah, by the way, it's out right now. Buy it." I'm like, uh. For those of you who don't know, it's pretty much a crossover between Trials, the motorcycle, the motocross game, the motocross like obstacle game, and Far Cry Blood Dragon, which makes for an interesting combo. The setup to it they had on stage was a little weird. There were two guys that walked out of the corners. Also, that Mortal Kombat discount music. That was interesting. Anyway, looks cool. I might get it. It's out fucking now, which I found interesting. Yeah. All right, so talking about Wildlands. What should I talk about next? I'm not sure. There's two things. I like them a lot. Oh, well. Let's talk about it. For Honor. This was the multiplayer warrior game that Ubisoft teased last year, which it looks cool. I like For Honor. I like how For Honor looks. I do like the rock paper scissors aspect to how you're facing against another warrior. Not another soldier, another like warrior, like Viking, samurai, knight. That is pretty cool. The cinematic trailer they had for it was pretty cool too. It did let in on some of the story aspects of the game, where one character is keeping them fighting. I do like that. I wish the guy who comes out on stage to talk about it would not ham it up. Because that's kind of the thing that's always bothered me about press conferences. I mean, it's fine if you want to get silly. It's fine if you want to make it a little interesting. But it's a press conference. Get it together. That's kind of the thing with other stuff where they're like having like a persona on stage. It's like, guys, get to the point. He also talked really slow, so I was like, get to the point. They showed some of the Viking campaign, which I was disappointed because I expected more burning down houses and having maybe non-consensual sexual relations to some of the women that of the houses that I'm raiding. That's how Vikings did it. I wanted to see that. They didn't do it. Not historically accurate, Ubisoft. Shame on you. Whatever. Looks cool. Foreigner looks cool. Now, I think the biggest surprise of Ubisoft's was the last game they talked about, which was Steep. Steep looks like a mountaineering open world game, which you can be snowboarding, you can be paragliding, and you can be wingsuiting. There's a couple other ones, skiing, stuff like that. But it's basically a mountain range where you can do whatever you want, and you can set up trails. It's kind of like a mountain version of Skate. And I did think of that a lot because, holy shit, you can hit rocks very hard. Watching that wingsuit demo, no! Good God, that guy's dead. I mean, if it was like bounce off and then nothing really happened, and then I wouldn't really care that much. But the reason this reminds me of Skate is because when he smacks into that rock, you can hear a crunch, and then he screams. Which then they move on. They're talking about like, oh, and then in the rest of the steep, you can do snowboarding and stuff. Are we gonna ignore the fact that guy just died? And then they had a couple well, they had a couple crashes. They're like, ooh, that hurt. Steep did look interesting at first. Where it's like, oh, it's an open world mountain range. But when I saw those crashes, I was like, I'm getting this game. And they do have a beta site set up so you can play it. Or play it when they launch alphas or betas. Which I'm gonna like a lot. Just crashing into trees. Jeez, those crashes hit hard. I love it. I think that's pretty much it to Ubisoft's. Let's see. It looks like Ubisoft is giving away a free game every month this year. I didn't catch that. I guess they are, apparently. You can pick up Sands of Time, Prince of Persia for free, apparently, which is interesting. I guess it's on PC. I'm not sure if it's on for the other consoles, but I don't know. Anyway, that's Ubisoft's press conference. It was very good. There was a lot of interesting stuff. They kept it stable. They had some... they had a couple weird ones like Star Trek, Just Dance, and let's see, Eagle Flight. But that was pretty much it. It was a very good conference. And now let's move on to Sony.